welcome to Vintage Tech Spotlight, the show where you have to dial your own phone number every time. Today's episode is about antique phones, both rotary and touchtone. In the earliest days of telephone for most people, the phones were of a style called a candlestick phone, and as you see here, it looks very much like an old-fashioned candlestick. There was no capability to dial your own phone number though, and these actually had to be done to an operator, and they sat at what was known as a switchboard, and they connected your phone call into their system and made your call for you. There were several phone systems on the market that allowed you to dial your own phone number, but they weren't standardized yet. Standardized wide release of dial your own phones didn't happen until 1919, and that was with the Bell telephone system.
Before calling any number, first secure the number from your new directory. Then remove the receiver and listen for the dial tone. It sounds like this. That tone indicates everything is ready for your call. With the receiver off the hook, dial the desired number. For example, suppose you want to dial 23650. Dial each numeral in this manner, pulling the dial around to the finger stop each time. Be sure to allow the dial to freely return to its normal position.
And this phone was made in 1953 by Western Electric, and it uses the old-fashioned rotary dial system. For example, if you wanted to dial the number 5, you would put your finger in that hole there and go all the way down to that little metal stopper at the end and let it go. And inside, an electrical connection would pulse 5 times. And let me show you exactly what I mean. And with rotary dialing, what happens is, let's say you wanted to select the number 5. This little cam right here would spin around 5 times, and that would make this contact open and close 5 times. Now this happens really fast, so I'm going to let it go in real time, and then I'm going to show you a slowed down version to see what actually happens. So here's number 5, letting go right now. Touchtone phone dialing was introduced to the world at the 1962 World's Fair, and they made quite a big deal of it. As you're seeing now, a lot of promotional films were made, and just to show you the advantages of touchtone dialing versus manual dialing.
Touchtone dialing. With this indicator, you see how many seconds you saved the new way. Let's try it. Okay, I'll race you. Ready? Go. I beat you.
Even though touchtone phones were introduced in 1962, they didn't become commonplace until the early 1970s. One of the other innovations that became common in the 1970s was removable phone cords, or modular cords. This is one right here, and all you had to do was pull that little clip up and the plug would come out. Previously, in these earlier phones from the 1950s, the cord was actually attached right in, hardwired into the handset receiver. So if something happened, you actually had to bring the phone in for service. And now, if something happened to your cord, all you had to do was unsnap that little snap right there, pull it out, and replace it. And we're going to conclude today's episode of Vintage Tech Spotlight with a pop quiz. And what I want you guys to do is to see which telephone is older. Is it this phone, or this phone? Let's give you 5 seconds to decide. And we're back. In case you were wondering, the oldest phone on this table is actually this phone right here. This is a Western Electric, made in 1973. This unit was made by the same company, but it wasn't made until 1974. And this unit right here was not made until the 1990s. It looks old, but it's actually a touchtone phone. You see there's a redial button and a button to switch between touchtone and pulse dialing. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is this called a Bluetooth gateway. And what this device does, it connects to your modern phone's Bluetooth, and it will allow one of these old phones to plug into it. And you can actually use your modern phone's Bluetooth connection to operate one of these old phones. Now this device was made by GE, and it's been off the market for about a decade now. So, you know, they're still available on eBay, but this is called a Bluetooth gateway. So that concludes today's episode, folks. Just wanted to thank my viewers, and click like and subscribe, and thank you once again for watching. This has been Vintage Tech Spotlight.